Ladies and gentlemen, never say come in, because if it's a cop, they're gonna fuck you.
It was the first time I went to jail. I was only 11 years old. Hustling was the only way I knew how to make money.
But I was never really a gangster. I was always just down to fight.
His name was synonymous with just fighting.
In the South Valley, the war zone, you grew up thinking, I have to fight to take what I want, to get what I need.
I was a professional MMA fighter. I was selling drugs, robbing drug dealers. Got a Big Mac and a blunt, 15,000 fucking bucks, and I said, this is the fucking life. At that point, that was the best it had ever been for me. I got home, cops are at the front door, and Mr. Oki, there's a warrant for your arrest. Fuck you guys, and I got my dog, and I jump out of the window. I got to this point where I was just like feeling ruthless, like untouchable. Don't laugh at me, I'm gonna jump back here and do a couple push-ups though. Try to get the blood flowing a little bit, so I don't look all weak.
Let's fucking get it.
I was born in Albuquerque, New Mexico, to my mother, who was 17 at the time. My father was about 20. Father passed away a couple years after that, and my mom raised me. It was the South Side area called the Sticks. It's a pretty rough side of town, yeah.
When I got Adam's case, I was the assistant district attorney in the violent crimes unit. I grew up in what is lovingly nicknamed the war zone here in Albuquerque. There wasn't a lot of gang activity. There wasn't a lot of drugs.
We always had food stamps, but it was kind of cool because all the kids in the neighborhood were playing outside all night. As far as my economical situation, it was rough, I guess they say, because I was poor, but I didn't take that as the hard part. The hard part for me was the violence in the household. My mom really got messed up, started using drugs. My mom was selling the food stamps to get things like cigarettes and alcohol. She was a heroin addict, she was a pill junkie. There was a lot of abuse. She used to abuse me, and I was so angry and confused as all this was happening, I was just fighting everybody everywhere. Oh shit, that was happening before I was fucking even can remember. I was punching kids in the playground. In my neighborhood, there's basically Hispanics and blacks. You got a few white kids. I'm mixed, so I got in a lot of fights over that. If anybody ever talks shit, I'll punch them on the spot.
In the South Valley specifically, you grew up thinking, I have to prove myself. I have to fight to take what I want, to get what I need. And if someone tries to take from me and mine, I have to defend that vigorously, and a lot of times through violence.
When I was in 4th grade, there was a bully. He was a lot bigger than me.
And he got the better end of me, and I ended up taking off and leaving and walking home. And my mom, I figured she would console me or whatever, but she said, you little motherfucker, he kicked your ass and you fucking ran? And I said, yeah. And she grabbed me by my fucking ear and dragged me back to the school, and she said, Peter, get over here. She threw us together and we fought like two little pit bulls, and I actually ended up kicking his ass. Made me realize bullies ain't shit. If a bully wants to step up and a bully wants to get it, he's gonna get it just like anyone else. My whole life, I never ever backed down from a fight again. I mentioned it to my mom's sister, and she said, well, let's get you in some kind of self-defense.
My aunt put me in karate. I did have one positive role model. She promoted the right things in me.
The community in Albuquerque used martial arts type stuff as almost like an outreach to get kids off the street.
It was funny because once I knew karate and other people didn't know karate, I'd like drop the stance on them. And it kind of threw people off. I was really into Jean-Claude Van Damme. I even had the little Van Damme haircut. First time I started using my martial arts skills, it was one of my friends. Came up to the park and him and one of his friends that I didn't know started trying to bully me and take the ball and not pass it back to me. I just didn't want disrespect. So I just threw a front knee kick on his knee. Whop! Just hit him in the knee right there. Basically busted his knee. I start throwing the karate stance at his friend and his friend runs. Later that night, the cops are knocking at the door and they arrest me for that, for assault.
It was the first time I went to jail. I was only 11 years old.
I wouldn't say I was scared, but I would say it was different for me. It was cold. I was just on a little bed, you know, just made out of concrete. And it was rough, just thinking that I was there, because people that had went to prison were held on a little bit of a higher level. You would get street credit for it.
They let me out 3 days later. I didn't really learn my lesson after I got out of jail. A month later, I was shoplifting at Dillard's when a cop stepped up.
And he said, "Hey, sir, can I talk to you?" And I started running out and he got in my way and I pushed him and he knocked out a whole rack of clothes. And you know, I was such a stupid kid, I started laughing at him. Like a little punk, I started laughing at the cop, pushed him down, ran outside, jumped in a trash can, stayed in there for about an hour, hour and a half. Eventually the helicopters came and they got me out of the trash can, and that was my first shoplifting charge. Starting from them, it just kept escalating, escalating, escalating.
I moved in with my aunt when I was 13. It was too much for my mom to take care of me and work on her own issues.
You know, at the time I was mad at my mom for doing it. I felt like she abandoned me. Yeah, I was doing good for a little while after I was with my aunt. I wasn't getting in any trouble for a little while.
I calmed down. It seems like sports really took over my life and I was still doing karate. I made varsity in football and wrestling my freshman year. So at that point, I started hanging out with all the older kids.
My friend Simon, he's older than me, about 3 years older.
I don't know, I consider myself his brothers. Friend isn't good enough. We were teammates in wrestling and football. He was known, he was pretty aggressive when it came to sports. He liked to hit people before he'd try to help you up.
And when I was in football and wrestling, I used anger to drive me, and I loved it.
My aunt was busy with law school when I moved in with her. I was bored. Eventually, I started looking for trouble.
I got to know the older kids and go to the older parties. And then I started drinking. I started building this crazy reputation as the guy who will just snap. I beat up a lot of people over music. I would roll into the party and throw on my shit, you know, Wu-Tang Clan, fucking Mobb Deep, whoever, and you'd always have some motherfucker talk shit.
Adam turns and squares him up. I already told you to turn off too short. Turn that shit off. And the dude turns around and's like, "Fuck you, little dude." And Adam kicks his fucking ass, and his name was synonymous with just fighting. It stuck. It was around that time that a few of us had established a crew.
I was never really a gangster. I was always down to fight anybody at any time.
After wrestling, we all kind of moved on into different interests, and I guess he really didn't know, you know, any other interests besides something we're engaging in. The next step for him would have just been into training and fighting, which he did. And he found the transition real easy, and he liked it a lot.
I was always concerned with trying to be the toughest guy in my school. I was losing control. My high school was across the street from Jackson's world-renowned MMA gym.
But nobody knew about this style and these fighters.
One day, I walked into the dojo, saw Tom Bond, one of the biggest MMA coaches ever. He has a bunch of UFC fighters, and Tom Bond's one crazy motherfucker himself. all these big old buff guys and older than me. I'm about, 16. But I just wanted to challenge everybody. I wanted to fight everybody. I just had that chip on my shoulder.
I was in my 30s when Adam came into the gym. Usually younger guys, they want to test themselves right away. In the beginning, I wouldn't say he was uncoachable, it's just that he wasn't coached very often. I could tell Adam had wrestled some, and he definitely had athletic background. And I was impressed at how tough he was for his age. He got right in there, he wasn't reluctant at all.
I loved it. These guys took me in like a brother.
These guys are all positive role models, but I was still causing trouble on the streets.
I started drifting with even harder characters, doing drugs. And then I started stealing again. But I wasn't just shoplifting, we decided to start doing runners. There was like 4 of us who would canvass the stores. We'd have our routes all ready to go and just run in the stores and grab clothes and pretty much tell them, fuck you, what are you gonna do?
Shit, when we were jacking back in the day, man, on any given day, you could bring home $5,000, whatever you could fill up the trunk, going to the different malls.
We were selling them to people on the street, like drug dealers, because anybody who has money out on the streets is gonna buy clothes for half price. Eventually, we're getting ounces of cocaine for about a few $1,000s worth of clothes. Though that wasn't enough, we decided to up the ante. And eventually, we had enough drugs from all that money to where we're just slanging drugs.
I was ready to make that money.
Eventually, we're just selling drugs. And I just stopped going to school altogether. It was crazy. I was ranked in the state, top 3 in wrestling. I was in enriched and gifted classes, and I just threw it all away, doing drugs, selling drugs.
My mom and my aunt weren't happy, but I was so bad that they were at least happy that I was alive and not in jail.
We got a house, and there's like 4 of us, 5 of us staying there.
In Adam's situation, if you have a few close friends from the neighborhood, you don't consider yourself a gang, it is almost like a brotherhood. You have their back, just like they have yours.
We would wake up every single morning and say, what the fuck are we gonna do to make some money? It was like a little organization to make money.
Ecstasy was pretty big at this time, easy to get a hold of. Somebody would roll through, we'd grab a handful of pills, see if we can load the pockets up to sell something or have a good time.
I'm making 5, 6, 7, 8 G's a week. It was never enough. The more we got, the more we spent.
Even though I sold drugs, I was still fighting. I always wanted to out-train my opponents on the streets.
It seemed like when Adam wasn't training, he was getting in trouble. I was running security for several nightclubs. One night, at the end of us closing the nightclub, I went out and I saw two guys in the parking lot across the street. That time I had a bouncer, I'll call him Dave, and I saw him and Adam Oki. I would say that Dave was 100 pounds heavier.
I never backed down. I would fight anybody, anytime, anywhere, any size, any color.
He's just looking to pick me up and overpower me. For me, it's different. When I'm squaring him up, I know what I'm gonna do to beat him before we even engage. These guys don't typically know wrestling. They definitely don't know jiu-jitsu.
Adam acknowledges me, so Dave realizes I know this guy. Dave tells me, Tom, you better let him know about me. And I said, Dave, I think I better let you know about him. In a matter of a couple of minutes, Adam shot a takedown and took him down in the gravel and found his back and choked him out, unconscious.
I took pride in my reputation here in Albuquerque because my reputation made me feel like I was somebody. Made me feel important.
At that time, regular bars are setting up cages, and there you can catch the cage fight in a corner bar at a strip mall.
It takes a long time to become a professional fighter, so I did a lot of unsanctioned fights.
My first unsanctioned MMA fight was a guy about 40 pounds heavier than me, big, huge guy.
Younger guys, they just want to get in there and find out what they could do. And that was Adam for sure.
You start to hear him pumping his breath and
I was hitting my face. I would rage, you know. I was kind of like the Incredible Hulk.
they both pretty much went at it pretty hard. The second round is when they started both show a little bit of signs of fatigue and tired, and Adam just wore him down.
It was crazy because he was way huger than me. Fortunately, I kind of gassed him out, which isn't allowed anymore. At that point, there was hardly any rules, which was pretty amazing, pretty fun.
I wasn't making any real money. Shit, sometimes I did it for free. I love being able to fight and show people what I got.
I was becoming more popular. I was VIP everywhere I went. I had coke in my face, women in my face. I mean, that was all just for having a reputation for fighting.
When you're the local celebrity and you walk in, and, Okie, Okie. This is like the movies. The scene, the girls, it was just pretty cool.
Even though I had all the girls and all the money, it never fulfilled me. I was always thinking, how can we get more and more and more? So we started robbing drug dealers.
Whenever we said, yo, homie, I got a jack move. And it was basically going to go set up some fool.
Say I was setting up a robbery and this guy over here has the dope and I have the money, and then right when we were about to exchange the dope and the money, somebody will kick in the door, and the people who robbed us, my friends, I'll tell them to hit me. And then I would act all tripped out like we didn't know what was happening. After that, we would just split it amongst the crew. And every time we commit a robbery, we try to dip out for a little while and stay underground.
One night I was answering a page at the payphone. I look and there's a car across the lot.
There was a girl that I knew from high school in the car. I'm like here at the payphone and they're over here in the parking lot and they pull like a turn. And she goes like, that's that motherfucker there. Next thing you know, I see coming out the driver's side a gun. Pop, pop, pop. And I'm like, what the fuck?
One night I was at the payphone around the corner.
I'm watching this car pull up and I just see a barrel flash. Boom, 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 boom. And I fall, boom, on the floor. And my whole leg is warm. I had been hit twice. Bystanders called the cops. The helicopters were there within seconds. Those motherfucking cops are fucking punks. They wrote it up, they said drug deal gone bad.
Based on his reputation, those officers knew if he's either looking for drugs, on drugs, or has coming down from drugs.
They figured with what just happened and who he was, that he's at fault. His story didn't get heard at all.
I'm not a rat or nothing, but the cops could have still done their job. The doctors, they had to go into my knee 3 times to try to get the bullet. They still haven't got it out. Till this day, it still kind of hurts. This other one that came out my back, I had to pop it out like a pimple because the doctors didn't even fucking see it. That was pretty brutal recovery. I knew I was gonna get shot before I got shot because I was robbing drug dealers. Yeah, I was just causing havoc. You know, I still haven't found out the whole inside story of why it went down like that.
I think that girl from my high school set me up.
I had my chance to get revenge on this guy. He was up in the pen on some other shit. And my homie's up in the pen. My homie said, hey, you want me to check him up real quick? And you know, by that time I had said, nah, it's cool, man, just let it go, because I chalked it up to karma. And then you would think that I would have changed my life, maybe went to God or some shit, but instead my reputation got so fucking big, I thought I was invincible.
For a young kid that didn't have much, Adam's reputation was directly connected to his self-esteem.
People were afraid of me, but they still would fuck with me. One night, we got a call, ring, ring. It's actually Simone's girlfriend.
She was arguing with workers from the McDonald's. like just talking shit. I guess they knew each other from school, don't like each other. She wasn't gonna fight this girl.
And we're like, all right, cool. We rolled up a couple blunts and hopped in the car. Went and met him at the park, thinking we were just to see two girls fight.
Pull into this parking lot and everything just kind of starts.
The girl fighting Simon's girlfriend pulls out a strap.
Boom, 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 boom.
I come running up. She just points the gun right in my face and just shoots me. I was running, I kind of just turned and it just... kind of hit me right here in my arm. I'm laying face down and I just hear the gun, just more shots, and I know Adam's right behind me.
Simon goes out, he's fucking face first, fucking blood everywhere. His girlfriend, she's fucking hit in the knee, she's fucking screaming on the ground. So I was like 10 feet away, like how we are right here, and I had two choices, run and maybe get shot in the back, or run towards her and maybe get shot in the chest. I grabbed her.
Then I grabbed for the gun.
Boom, she shot and it hit in my heel right here.
She was still attacking me. I had to take her down.
It got quiet again. I don't know what's going on. Adam is yelling my name. I mean, you see your boy go down like that, you think your boy's gone. As they turned me over, my arm just kind of rolled. It's broken.
Simon, he is like a brother, and
I thought he was gonna die.
Adrenaline kicks in, just stuff my arm inside my pants, and Adam kind of just gets under me, grabs my belt. We just take off running, man. Just fucking thought I lost my life, man.
And I'm thinking to myself, I gotta get you out of here.
I forgot his girlfriend was back there. I didn't notice anything else going on around me. I just knew I needed to save my best friend.
We don't get too far before I just drop. I just drop, I'm done. And the ambulance pulls in, the cops surround us.
The cops asked me what happened. I told them exactly what went down. No bullshit.
I thought that I saved everyone's life. I thought that I was literally gonna be touted as a hero. I was ready to fucking have a little parade and all that. And next thing you know, they're arresting me. And I said, what the fuck are you arresting me for? And they said, because you had a right to hit her, but not hit her that much.
I guess they didn't really give Adam much of a chance. Our story, his story, the story didn't get heard at all.
I ended up pleading out to some misdemeanors because I didn't want to risk it. I ended up getting 3 years probation, kept me out of prison.
The girl who shot us, she got some felony charges put on her and did some time. A couple months later, I was at my homies.
We had a couple pounds on the table. We were smoking heavy.
Someone was knocking on the door. I called out,
Come in!
without checking the peephole.
And the cops come in. They find weed and they arrest me. I guess it was a call for a neighbor for a domestic violence charge.
And the cops went to the wrong house.
Ladies and gentlemen, never say come in, because if it's a cop and you have something on the table, they're gonna fuck you.
It was my first time going to jail as an adult.
Back in the 90s, we used to be able to wear our shoes in jail. I had the brand new Agassiz, and I remember when you'd walk into the jail, they'd go like this, the whole fucking pod, 70, 80 guys. Shoes, shoes, shoes. They're shaking the bars, and it was like this deafening sound. And so I went into the pod. Next thing you know, my door cracks, and one guy pops on in, and he says, give me your shoes, homie. Tried to bulldog me. The bulldog is a bully. And those are the guys I fucking hated my whole life in the first place. So I was gonna be damned if a bully came up and fucked with me. I don't give a fuck, I'll die. Took off on him and mounted him and pounded his fucking face in. Told him he better not snitch. The whole fucking pod's like, oh, you got fucked up. And they're like, that dude knows some kind of karate. He's a martial arts guy. And I got red suited. When you go in jail, if you get to red suited and shit, you're like, motherfuckers don't fuck with you. A couple months later, they finally let me out. And I put myself back in the game doing drugs, selling drugs.
I never had a real job before. Hustling was the only way I knew how to make money.
I had a friend, he was the one always making the biggest moves when it came to the drugs.
He would get boats of ecstasy for me and Simon.
A boat is 1,000 pills of ecstasy.
They're bringing in thousands of pills on the table, just packing them up to go take them and sell them to whomever has the order.
I remember the first time I sold some boats, made about 15,000 bucks. So I had 15,000 fucking bucks in my hand, I couldn't believe it. I had a Big Mac and a blunt, 15,000 fucking bucks, and I was in this little truck that I owned by myself, and I said, this is the fucking life. At that point, that was the best it had ever been for me.
How much do you think you're making every week?
I say on a good week, 40, 50,000. I'm telling you that money went as fast as it came was fucking amazing. More coke, more women, more alcohol, more parties, better parties. It was definitely escalating at a high rate because I was addicted, and something underneath it all, I was never happy. I was always depressed. You know, there's the times when I'd break down crying by myself, and it was a hard life.
I don't want to be that kind of guy, but at least I had MMA.
Even if I stayed up all night, I would train every single day and go to practice. It's like, I couldn't let go of the fighting because that was my self-identity. That's all I had. That's all I had.
He'd wake up and he'd be gone. He'd be at the dojo. You're like, what the fuck, dude? I haven't even got out of bed, fucking ate breakfast or anything, and he's already ran miles.
Friday night usually is like big parties. Everybody's waiting to go to the fight. I was a fucking idiot. I was drinking and doing coke and ecstasy before the fights. Sometimes I would even stay up the whole fucking night. I would sleep in the locker room right before the fight, and they would literally have to wake me up. Hey, Oak, you're fighting, you're next. And, Adam Oakey! Oh, fucking, I'd fucking run out there, fucking wiping my eyes and get it right there. I actually was asked to leave Jackson's because I was committing too many crimes. I was selling drugs, robbing drug dealers. I was beating too many people up. I guess it was giving the school a bad name.
There's some things I'd heard about that were criminal, and people talk. Albuquerque's not a small town, but it is kind of a small town.
Oh, I felt betrayed at the time. It kind of started a beef between me and the school for a while. Like, I had my crew on the streets, and like, there were Jackson's fighters. I would look for them, and I would fucking try to fight them wherever and beat them up. And me and UFC fighter Diego Sanchez ended up fighting in the streets over it.
I mean, everybody around here knows who Diego Sanchez is. He was the first winner of the UFC Ultimate Fighter show. At that time, Diego Sanchez was one of the best fighters in the world. Adam Oakey was a notorious street fighter, but Diego Sanchez, he's notorious as well.
Diego and Adam grew up in the barrio here in Albuquerque. They grew up on the streets, and they honed those skills to be fighters even before they went and got official training, because that was just kind of the culture.
The night that it happened, I was drinking at a local bar. Diego was a bouncer there, and he started talking shit, so I said, let's get it, homie. And it was on.
That was a legendary fight, man. Now, I took him down, beat the fuck out of him. And so I got to this point where I was just like feeling ruthless, like untouchable, unfuckwithable. Somebody owed me some money for some chronic. They hadn't paid me when they're supposed to. A couple weeks later, I woke up in the morning and I was like, you know what? I don't think they have guns. I don't want to kill anybody. I don't want to hurt anybody. I got my pit bull, who was a mean motherfucker, and I went over there and knocked on the door and kicked the door in. put him up against the wall and threatened him, yelled at him a little bit. If you call the cops, I'm gonna fucking kill you, da-da-da, I know where you live, and didn't work with them. By the time I got home, the cops were calling me and said, Mr. Oki, there's a warrant for your arrest. I said, fuck you guys, and I fucking hung up the phone and I got my dog and we went on the run. So me and my dog were on the run together, which was pretty cool. I didn't really have a plan because I knew I was gonna have to face it someday, but I planned to have fun. I stayed with one of my boys and we like turned it into a party house. I was basically out there selling drugs again. I was dating a young gal and I was tired of her. Eventually I told her, you know, I'm good, I'm done, I don't wanna hook up with you anymore. And she knew that I was on the run. She fucking called the cops that night. Cops knock on the door. We're up on a second story. There's like this little tiny window out of a bathroom. I jump out of the window down into the yard, jump into the lake, swim to the neighbor's house, like 3 houses down, get inside their boat, and I'm laying in there just hiding. Cops are getting closer. I'm laying in there just hiding. Helicopter up front. I can see flashlights in the yard. They finally come in on me.
They arrested me and threw me in jail.
A couple months later, I get extradited back to Albuquerque and I'm in the high felony pod. And I'm looking outside my cell. You go in there, no matter how hard you are, there's motherfuckers that's harder than you. And you know, I'm just realizing this life that I'm getting into, it's getting worse and worse. And I'm watching fucking heroin get shot up. The homies are tattered up, gang shit everywhere. And I'm thinking to myself, could I be like that? And I'm like, yeah, fuck, I could be like that if I wanted to. It's just a choice. I spent another couple months, finally got to see the judge and they granted me bail. I was out on the streets, but this time it was different for me.
I was ready to make some serious changes in my life.
But the prosecutor started pushing heavy.
My understanding of Adam's case was that he was pressuring this drug dealer to collect the drug debt. He was facing 30 years of potential incarceration, and the firearm put mandatory time on it.
The guy who owed me for the chronic told the cops I had a gun.
I didn't have a gun, so I was ready to take it to the box if I was gonna do mandatory time.
Now, New Mexico is the only state that lie detector tests are admissible on the defense's side to disprove or to prove an allegation against the defendant.
That day in court, I took a lie detector test.
I was able to review that. He passed with flying colors. Because of that, I called up the victim in this case. Upon my questioning, his story started to fall apart. I still believed that Adam came over and used the dog to collect the drug debt, but I just absolutely did not think that there was any type of weapon involved other than the dog. So that changed my attitude towards the resolution of the case. His charges now equaled 11 and a half years. As a prosecutor, I was a big believer in it. If you fix the problem, you fix the criminal activity. Most people who commit crimes don't commit crimes because they're evil. 95% of the time, the activity they were involved in had an underlying cause. I knew he did have a juvenile record, and it showed some of those trials as a juvenile were felonies. And when Adam became an adult, he continued to pick up charges of like disorderly conduct, assault, battery. He was robbing his drug dealer. I used to kind of call it the stoned and stupid charges. I would organized plea agreement where you got one last opportunity to fix whatever your issue is. In Adam's case, if you fix the mental health, if you fix the drug addiction, I will give you every benefit, every consideration when it comes to the result of your case.
He gave me a chance. Mr. Ramsey argued for me. He didn't argue to put me down.
If you don't succeed, if you don't take this opportunity, you get hit with the sledgehammer. In Adam's case, it was the 11 and a half years in prison.
I had been addicted to coke and the alcohol for a while. It was a hard life living that life. And I realized, you know what? I don't want to be like this anymore. I was going to go to California to a sober house for a year voluntarily.
If Adam failed to do his part, if he left the treatment facility, if he didn't complete it, if he violated probation, and especially if he picked up new charges, the agreement was he would serve those 11 and a half years. There was no ifs, there was no ands, there was no arguments. This is your last chance to stay out of prison.
Rehab was tough. I thought I had to get over the drugs and do some detox or some shit. No, I learned that I not only had an issue with partying and drugs and alcohol and coke and women, I had anger management issues. I had to get over wanting to fight my way through life.
You know, eventually I changed.
Adam really did take advantage of the opportunities that were given him. He completed his inpatient treatment perfect and successfully, and it seemed at that time, for the most part, he really turned his life around. We decided the remainder of his sentence would be probation.
After I got into rehab, I wanted to refocus on becoming a professional fighter.
I had been in and out of martial arts for so long, and I had done unsanctioned fights, street fights. But now I was like, maybe I can do something with myself. Maybe I can turn all these negative things into something positive.
Adam got in touch with me, and we talked about him coming back and training and us promoting him as a fighter as well. I think he had grown up some, was more coachable.
There was a lot of people who turned on me. Tom Vaughn never turned on me. He always told me, Oak, he's all, one person's trash is another person's treasure, and you're my treasure. So I started training again with Tom Vaughn and competing, and I started doing well.
Adam was a pretty big name now in the UFC. So, of course, you gather up everybody you can and go root on the homeboy.
I believe that mixed martial arts helped Adam realize that he could set his sights on something and achieve it.
As a fighter, I was known as Albuquerque's most hated. I deserve that title. I am the most hated.
Adam was quite notorious. His reputation preceded him. His name was well known. And I think he was feared. But as much as Adam was hated, he was loved. He was an icon.
A woman I was hooking up with called me out of the blue and said, I'm having your baby.
Kennedy was born January 11th, 2009. Once I had my baby, I knew I was reborn in her eyes. And I knew that she never, ever had to see that old person. I learned from examples of when I was younger of what not to be. I started becoming a man. I went to school. I started getting good grades. I realized I'm not stupid. I lost track of all the potential that I had, and I gave it up to the streets. College was amazing. I started actually opening my eyes. I had no idea about education until I saw it, and I saw a whole new world out there. I realized I could become something I never even thought I could, and I went to law school. Now that I've made this change, I get to help people in exactly the same situation I was in. After law school, I started my law firm. I'm a criminal defense attorney now. We do pardons and expungements. We got about 50 of them in my firm right now. I have the worst record out of any of them. I should be in prison.
Out of the blue, I get an email. Adam was filling me in.
I always knew that I wanted to let Mr. Ramsey know how thankful I was.
My biggest hopes, I would hope the defendant would just get a good job, be a productive member of the community. I never envisioned that despite their history and their past, that they get accepted to law school. Then they pass the bar and get admitted to the bar. Only 1 out of 100 actually make something of themselves and don't violate or come back. Adam was my 1 in 100.
I'm running my law firm. I'm running a couple other business. I'm running my podcast. I'm engaged to be married. I am officially retired from professional MMA. I have a 12, a 10, 9, 7, and 6-year-old. Started popping them out. It's been an amazing journey. Life is really good right now.
2 or 3 apple take 1 mark.
I heard Adam is an attorney. I was very impressed and actually a little bit shocked. I didn't realize that people could be felons and become attorneys.
You meet Adam as your lawyer. Adam Oki today is going to be your actual, real Better Call Saul.
I'm Saul Goodman, and I'll fight for you.
So you better call Saul.
Or else.